The meeting recording has begun. Feel free to unmute your mics when you're ready.
Okay.
Yeah, here, I can help you. Yeah, just push down.
Yeah, there you go. It's a delay.
I don't know how much you can see.
So I can
Let
see
me know
mine
if you need anything.
I can hardly see you because everything left is gone, but yeah, it's all good.
I could not download some of the
Attachments?
attachments. The big one I
I mean,
could,
I read,
smaller ones
yeah,
I couldn't, and I did read them, but
Okay.
but I couldn't download, I couldn't get it. Getting error 403.
Okay, so what I'd like to do is 11:04, so let's open the meeting. If we could begin with Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I think everybody saw that. Don, thanks for the meeting packet. So I hope everybody had a chance to review the minutes. And has anybody got any questions or comments related to the minutes? Okay, I do have one. The minutes across the board are, they're pretty, they just kind of go through topics and the like. But I think it needs they need a little more meat. So instead of just saying questions were asked and answered, I think we need to have a little more detail in terms of what the questions were and what the answers were. So if we could get the minutes updated to reflect that, I think that would be useful.
Okay, that's fine. We can do that.
So that people will actually know what happened
Mhm.
in the meeting and what we talked about.
Okay, so we will.
Now turn the ringer off. Everybody turn your phones off. Okay.
Okay, so staff will take these back and we will update those to have a little bit more detail in them.
Yeah.
And bring it back at our next meeting.
That's perfect. Okay, thank you. So there's no need to vote on the minutes. Okay.
Yeah, just vote to continue the minutes for the additional information.
Okay. Next, I guess the next item on the agenda is the,
Do we have to have that vote?
Yes, sir. Yeah, just put to continue to continue it to the next meeting, to allow staff for additional add additional detail for the
Okay.
meetings.
Do I hear a motion?
make a motion that we accept the minutes
Second?
read with the
Oh, sorry.
additions.
No, if I may, the motion staff would recommend based on Chair Gilpin's comments would be to continue the minutes to the minutes for May 15th to the next meeting to allow staff the opportunity to supplement the details of that meeting and bring it back to you at the next meeting. That would be my proffered motion.
Do I hear,
So moved.
thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. Matters of discussion. We've got the Maryland 250 programming. Is there anything that you want to go through there, Don, or I don't know how we want to?
Yes, sir. Just a moment. I was anticipating having Ms. Anderson at the meeting today to be able to explain a little bit more detail about what how she's working on the additional programming for Maryland 250. She doesn't look like she's going to be available after all. It's kind of substitute in here a little bit to tell you that the way that we've felt it was most efficient was that we're adding programming into the existing programming that's already out there for La Plata events. Like I believe on the one of the previous programs, I think it was the 4th of July was not here. There was some additional craft work, crafts and so forth for kids to participate in. I know that she is working with us, with staff, to provide more more significant programming for October, the town.
Okay.
And there's currently in the process of still working. She's got several programs she needs a little bit more in advance, but we're looking at having a more robust program in October.
Okay.
Be in line with the 250 program that we've talked about. But there are little bits and pieces that we've incorporated within some of the prior programming to basically to acknowledge and to try to provide a supplemental program.
Okay.
So that's kind of where that is. Be happy to send out some additional information as it becomes available, and I'll endeavor again to have Ms. Anderson be here at the next meeting so that she can more fully describe some of the programming that she's
Okay.
working on.
And in terms of, I did not hear anything there that would be calling for support from the HPC. We do have, if there's anything that can be supportive relative to the museum openings and the like, I'd love to participate in that if it's useful. But beyond that, I don't see anything that we've got on our plate with this.
No, there's not. This is why we have a subcommittee with for the HPC to be able to work directly with for programming and for advisement and so forth. So I think they're doing a good job in that manner.
Okay. Refresh my memory. Who's from HPC? Who's the subcommittee?
Ms. Hobbs and
Oh,
Ms. Chandler.
yeah. She couldn't come today, by the way. She did reach out to me. She's got doctor's things, so she could not make it today. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Next item on the agenda is the adoption of the preservation professional list. You gave us a pretty detailed listing in the package, so if you want to lead us through that one, that'd be good.
Yes, sir. This was continuing. This will allow for the commission to identify any additional trades, professionals that they felt might be useful for the professional trades list or preservation professionals list. I did not receive additional ones from the suggestions from the commission. It had one or two folks here locally to the list that I did not catch the first time around. And staff also reached out to the town attorney to seek his validation on disclaimer that's in the professional trades directory, notifying people that, anyone on this list where the town is not recommending them, it's more as a public service or informational item, that it's on them to vet out their licenses and their trade abilities, et cetera, et cetera. So the town attorney was satisfied with it, felt that was more than sufficient. So staff is now bringing this back to the HRC with the resolution to approve the professional trades list, and staff will put this on our website thereafter for the people to be able to access and use.
I did review the list, and there were only two that I could call local out of 20 pages worth of lists. One was it H.L. Witten or C.
Lytton.
Lytton, and then the other one was an Amish craftsman that's down the road. But other than that, everybody was from Virginia or far away in the state and all that. There was not much local, was nothing in Waldorf even.
There was nobody that I was able to identify, and this is why I was asking for additional suggestions.
Did you reach out to the county historic?
I've went through all of the lists that are available, including the state list.
You
Yes,
talked to the historic group from the county historic.
the Resource Commission, no.
That might be worth doing. Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
I couldn't, that's one of the items I had trouble with on the town website downloading. I kept getting error 403. I got some things to download, other things, every time I try to do it, it would get an error and wouldn't let me do it. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but,
So it's the same, it's fundamentally the same list that you saw
yeah,
before
it sounds like
with
it
a, with a
was.
couple additions. That's fundamentally it.
Okay,
But again, this list is meant to be dynamic. If other folks have that are professionals or have skill sets that they feel that align with the intent of this, they're certainly welcome to contact the department. We will add them. This is, again, it's a directory. It's not a recommendation for anybody. It's there to help facilitate information.
Okay, I believe you proposed a resolution.
Yes, sir. There's a resolution to adopt the professional trades list as presented to you today.
Do I hear a motion?
I guess I move that we go ahead and accept the list as it is at the moment, with the understanding that it's can be added to and it will evolve.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Right?
Opposed? Nay? Okay. Guess it's adopted.
Okay, thank you.
Next item on the list is the Legacy Business Program.
Okay. For this item, since I'm introducing this one, this one's, I think needs a little bit more background and understanding of what this is. So I have prepared a fairly lengthy PowerPoint presentation for you to see. And this is going to sort of summarize the staff report, and that's sort of the intent, as well as to identify a potential structure for this so that the commission sort of understands what we're trying to accomplish and how we're going to go about doing it. There was for this presentation, no, ma'am. This is going to summarize and supplement it. At the end of the presentation, I'm also going to provide you an example of although it's not identified as such, but I'm going to give you an example of a potential legacy business that I stumbled over quite by accident when I was on holiday last week or the week before last for the 4th of July weekend, that I think is very relevant and will sort of give you a real life example in addition to the email that I sent you that provided at least one link to a YouTube video. Hopefully you've all had a chance to look at that, sort of get a flavor for it. So with that, let's go ahead and begin this. So to start, the purpose of today's discussion is to introduce the concept of a legacy business program for La Plata and outline why such a program can meet meaning and significance. This presentation then provides an overview of the motivation behind the program and an overview of the steps needed for its development. Okay. I got the right one here. Okay. So legacy businesses. So what are legacy businesses? Legacy businesses are long established, locally rooted enterprises that typically are operating for 20 to 25 years or more or less. They can represent any type of business, but they meaningfully contribute to the community's cultural and social heritage, sense of place, and historical continuity. These businesses often function as gathering places or tradition keepers, if you will, sustaining local memories and practices that reflect both tangible and intangible heritage. Intangible heritage are things like music, speaking, anything that's you can't touch or hold. They also align with broader historic preservation efforts focused on place retention and supporting community-based economic development. Next slide, please. Let's see, this is, excuse me. Communities across the country recognize that legacy businesses provide stability, authenticity, and a strong sense of place. They strengthen economic resilience, reinforce identity, and function as social hubs that keep the community's traditions alive. Preserving these establishments is as much about cultural continuity as it about economic development. What legacy businesses are not, they're not businesses that are necessarily long-standing, that have no cultural strong cultural association with the community, simply because of their age. That's not really what a legacy business is. And they're not businesses that do not facilitate cultural traditions, identity, sense of place. And they're definitely not a marker for architectural significance. Next slide. So national background, to give you a little context. The first formal legacy business program emerged from San Francisco as early as or late as 2015, and it was driven by concerns about displacement of culturally significant small businesses. That initiative, paired with recognition with financial incentives, and inspired similar efforts nationwide, and some small towns have also adopted scaled approaches that align with that can align with La Plata's resources and needs. So fundamentally, there's the smaller towns have looked at some of the bigger towns that really cities that really started these programs or followed San Francisco's model, and they've scaled them down to things that that economically that the town can sustain. And I'll get into a little bit how they do that. But before we do, next slide. So looking at Maryland at the state level, staff has been able to find any Maryland jurisdiction that has implemented a formal legacy business program. Although some communities such as Baltimore and Montgomery County have pursued related cultural preservation initiatives, none actually have a defined legacy business program as a document. This gap presents an opportunity for La Plata to become a statewide leader in recognizing and supporting culturally significant businesses, particularly for small towns. So this could be quite our work here could certainly be used and patterned in the future by other communities in Maryland and elsewhere around the country, potentially. Next slide. So a foundational step for this program is defining a clear, fair, and culturally relevant criteria to determine what qualifies as a legacy business. This requires identifying La Plata's cultural themes, such as foodways, ritual heritage, arts, traditions, generational gathering places, and ensuring that designated businesses meaningfully reflect those themes. The Historic Preservation Commission's input will be essential in helping shape this definition, as well as identifying cultural themes and identifying criteria for those. Next slide. The staff report that you've received identifies that the Plato's current zoning code may unintentionally burden older businesses, especially those who are operating under non-conforming conditions, and because they were fundamentally established before our current zoning code was in effect and the criteria that we're currently using. To make a legacy business program effective, targeted zoning amendments such as overlays or expanded non-conforming protections may be needed to allow reasonable expansion, modernization, and operational flexibility to qualify as a legacy business. These are just some approaches that might be taken. Next slide. Legacy businesses often face pressures from redevelopment, rising rents, and the cost of doing business. For a small town like La Plata, potential legacy business programming benefits could potentially include the zoning flexibilities, small grants, which the town has already authorized for this fiscal year, and advertising to help promote legacy businesses in town to preserve the town's traditions, cultural expressions that make it important to the town's cultural heritage, identity, and history. Beyond physical improvements, many longstanding businesses could potentially benefit from enhanced visibility and recognition. They may also benefit by having town staff, advocates, advisors, ombudsmen, if you will, to help legacy businesses to facilitate administrative processes and issues for them to help facilitate anything that they permits or anything that they might need from the town to help support or to help accomplish their goals within the town as an operating valued business. Next slide. Supporting legacy businesses sustain La Plata's cultural identity while reinforcing its economic health. These establishments help shape community character, facilitate pride among residents, and strengthen sense of place. They embody both tangible and intangible heritage and long-term economic resilience. Next slide.
I ask a quick question?
Sure.
You want me to wait?
Let me finish it, but I'll go through and ask questions if you would.
Okay.
So supporting legacy businesses sustains La Plata's cultural identity while reinforcing economic health. These establishments also shape community character, facilitate pride among residents, and strengthen sense of place. They embody both tangible and intangible heritage and long-term economic resilience. Let's next slide, please. Catch up here. So currently for fiscal year 2027, we have the town has granted a $1,800 budget for up to 5 legacy business programs. And this is presuming that this program is and as it will be done before the end of the fiscal year 27 to help facilitate support for legacy businesses. One of the questions for the commission as part of this process is how do we prioritize the grant money to be used, or should we prioritize it? Anything that supports a legacy business is probably something that we want to allow them to use such money for. But we should also consider exploring funding sources as the town's funding may not always be available. That $1,800 is basically for as a seed project at this point that we need to cultivate and grow as part of this legacy business program. Next slide. Public outreach is going to be very important for this project. Input from businesses and residents is crucial for shaping a legacy business program that reflects real community needs and values. And that's really the key. What do businesses need right now? What could they potentially need in the future? So we're thinking now and we're thinking ahead based on common understanding of what businesses, common issues or problems or limitations that they have. Engaging potential legacy businesses will help identify those challenges and priorities, while public outreach will ensure culturally significant establishments, especially those valued by diverse community groups, are recognized. Next slide. So potential program strategy. The legacy business strategy outline provided in your staff reports is attachment 1, draws from small town models that offer practical, low cost and culturally grounded tools. Its purpose is to guide early discussions on this topic, not prescribe a final structure by any means. It's to help the commission consider how recognition, zoning flexibility, and modest incentives can support longstanding businesses in La Plata. Fundamentally, it's a place to start the conversation. And that was included in your staff report. The next steps for this, again, broad outline here, is that today I'm looking to really get HPC feedback on this program, answer questions, try to develop closer alignment with what we're going to be doing. We'll need to form a subcommittee on this to aid staff and facilitate this because this is a program that's going to take more time, and it's going to be more efficient if I have an active subcommittee to help draft the refinements. What I'm looking to do is to bring back initial refinements for the legacy business program, and then conduct a reasonably robust public outreach program to get public input on what they believe is culturally significant for tangible and intangible heritage types of businesses that they might relate to kind of get an understanding of what the community thinks that about how we're going about doing this program and who we should be outreaching, what types of assets that we should be targeting as potential legacy businesses, and how we ascribe those or identify those types of businesses. And then there would be a second round of comments there'd be a second round of revisions that the commission would be looking at. And again, feeding these comments back out to the commission to get their input and support and their own recommendations. Ultimately, there'll be back and forth as we move into this, because this is a much more complex process than I think the commissions had in front of them before with some of the other programs that we've started off with. But fundamentally, the commission will make a recommendation to the planning commission on potential changes to the zoning code that would help facilitate legacy business programs through modifications to the code that might provide for some leniency on non-conforming land use policies or other development standards that facilitate stabilization and future growth of these legacy business programs. And then the town council, the planning commission will make a recommendation to the town council for their review and approval of the legacy business program and the recommended changes that would be made to the zoning code to facilitate legacy business preservation and future growth opportunities. So again, this is a rough roadmap of where we're going, but it's going to involve the commission's input, some serious consideration from and input and involvement with the HPC subcommittee for this effort that staff is recommending, and community outreach, so that we all have a basic understanding of what we're trying to do, who we're doing it for, how we're identifying these businesses. Staff has began the effort of looking at least initially, businesses in La Plata that are at least 25 years old. I do not have a specific number of businesses that just by their age would qualify for no other reason. So I am working currently on that. What I potentially forecast is ultimately in the town of La Plata, given its size, there may only be at this time maybe a handful of businesses, and those businesses would want to have to participate in it. But as the thing to remember, as we continue to grow in the community, these businesses like other resources that are out there are going to be potentially at risk because of redevelopment pressures and economic other forms of economic development that may undermine the long-term success. So starting a program like this is going to protect what we have, provide recognition and potential opportunities for businesses to withstand other types of pressures that are going to be on them through increased growth and development, which isn't a bad thing in the town, but it's a balancing act. And I will tell you as a side note, I've worked in communities that with preservation commissions that have short of crying, have really expressed some serious emotional distress verbally on losing businesses that have meaning and value to the community, but there was nothing in their ordinance that would allow them to help try to protect, help facilitate these types of businesses so that they can be successful in the future. And if we think about new businesses that come into town, hey, if businesses can see that if my business becomes meaningful and valuable to the community and its culture, I can be here for a very long time. And that helps reinforce why you should invest in La Plata as a business, because we're there to support you long term. And for businesses that are associated with this could be an avenue that they want to think about as they establish themselves in La Plata or any sort of business investment that they want to put into the town, so that it has a cultural connection to La Plata and the La Platians to those businesses. So that's the fundamental presentation. But I wanted to give you, next slide. As promised, I wanted to give you a little case study. Now this actually is I'll give you a little bit of background. Over the 4th of July weekend, I stumbled upon a legacy business, or what I think could certainly be a legacy business. This particular place is called Moore's Country Store. It's in Lynchburg, Virginia, or Campbell County. And I thought it really, when I stumbled upon this, I thought this is really apropos for what we're doing here today, because I think it really highlights a real business that this could be in La Plata. And I'll explain why here as we go along. But that first picture, it's to give you some context. It's off of a major thoroughfare. It was built in 1926. It was originally a store that had a gas station. They've since removed the gas station, but over time, it's been modified and expanded. But again, as we're talking about, it doesn't have as much to do with the building itself. It's what its meaning is to the community and how the community sort of embraces these meaningful businesses to them. And as we go through this, you'll understand a little bit more of why I'm saying that. But I was just going to point out that one of the attributes of this particular business that really kind of stands out, and again, it's providing meaning to the community, is that the store had burnt down in years past, and that the owner at the time decided that they were going to create the ability for a tree to grow through the roof, and that's what it looks like today. And so it's you'll see that people refer to it as a tree store or other types of monikers to kind of represent this really unusual place that if it was gone, or that tree was eliminated, it wouldn't have the same attraction to it, just as a sense of place, right? Next slide. So this is just identifying the parking lot, and I'm just wanted to show you that oftentimes legacy businesses, and not always, but oftentimes legacy businesses will tend to attract people because people are looking for authentic places that that they've heard about, they want to come and visit. People that live in the community go there on a regular basis. And so it has its own attraction. Even though it's not supposed to be a designated attraction, it has become one because of its meaningful support for the community and the community to the business. But you can see this is taken midday and on a Saturday, and there wasn't a place really to pull in at the time that I was there, but we found parking. But it's very popular. And again, this is not something that I knew about until actually I got there. So this is the front of the building, and the actual road is just to the left of that truck that's parked in a non-designated parking space. Next slide. This is an example of very, very modest signage. You don't have to have massive signs for a legacy business. These are places that people know about, and they go there. They're part of the community's knowledge base, and places that they love. But this is Moore's little tiny freestanding sign.
So they have this program in Lynchburg?
No.
No.
Oh,
No,
that's
they don't have it in
We should use it.
Lynchburg.
This would be our.
Just an example.
Yeah, this is just a case study of showing. This is just, I thought this is a good example to use of a small business that you could potentially drop in La Plata. I mean, we may not have a tree store in La Plata, right? But it's just kind of giving you a sense to get a feel for, to get a feeling for it, right?
What is the cultural aspect of the business to the community?
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of this particular example, what is the cultural aspect? Just food that they serve?
Food. Yeah.
Whereas you can take Martin's and it can be, gas can be serving your, having a car service, or you can be shopping for a birthday gift. It's all wrapped into one at the station.
Yeah, Martin's has it.
These are oftentimes places. Yeah. Think of some of these places these businesses may be places that have sort of kind of always been there, or places that people rely on for maybe for gas or for food or whatever, but they have this meaning to people. Okay.
We're gonna run out of time.
Okay, so next slide, please. So I just took a picture. This is what Moore's is famous for. They're hot dogs. Not all legacy businesses, promote it, but this is what makes Moore's known to the surrounding community. Next slide. This is looking inside of the building. Again, not very, very modest. Nothing loud or flashy. It's definitely not a like a big business chain. I put a quote from the owner, and how I discovered it was through a local magazine. But the owner, Jennifer Moore, she says that Moore's is built around a long-standing tradition of community, food, and family. This dedication to being welcoming and attentive is what helps maintain the sense of community that Moore's is known for. Again, Miss Moore is not trying to create a legacy business. She has one. It's just because of how the community has received this over the last 100 years and their interaction and support of the community. Next slide. This is their dining area. She also goes on to say, we have watched children grow into adults. We have been part of the celebrations from birthdays, graduations, and even weddings. We've been part of the hard and the sad part of people's lives. And they have been part of ours. That is meaningful. People depend on this place to be there. Next slide. So I wanted to take a picture that kind of the reinforcement of the sense of place that Moore's has embraced and continues to demonstrate to what are some of the attributes to it, to the store. So the mural that was recently painted, I guess, the mural depicts some of the store's important iconology that the community immediately recognizes. It promotes a sense of place and community culture, the tree growing through the store, their famous hot dogs. And if you look to the right, it's a little hard to see, but you see several picture frames. These are newspaper clippings on the wall that create memories for both the owners and the customers, reinforcing the store's sense of place and heritage in the community. Next slide. And so this, demonstrating that, it's not, again, it's not just a food restaurant. They do sell other things. It's a store. And so the image depicts other goods sold in the store, including souvenirs of the actual store itself, because of public connection to this place. Customers buy souvenirs because the meaning and value they associate with with special businesses and places like Moore's. Ultimately, it promotes heritage tourism as people seek authentic places for goods and services. And so people want and people buy. In fact, I had one I was going to show you. I actually bought one of the shirts, thought it was really cool. It was a special place. Even as a visitor, you can appreciate what this business means to the community, and selling its t-shirts and they actually have specialized food products that they sell on there too. It's a place like no place else. It's not something you're going to find in Idaho or New York or Texas. It's Campbell County, Virginia. Next slide. And here's recognition of the store's community value attracts interest and helps facilitate its success. This is a banner that they recently received from for recognition of it being an award-winning business in and of itself of what it is and what it does for the community. Next slide. This is I took a picture of my wife and I's lunch. We had, of course, going in there, we had to try the hot dogs, right? That's what they're known for. And this is just very simple fare, not fancy. There's no decorations. It's just honest food. Their lemonade did not come out of a vending machine. The lady who served me actually went to the refrigerator and pulled it out of a pitcher, all fresh, all handmade lemonade. It was just awesome. We're going back to communities that struggle to have that sort of personalized touch and sense of tradition, and certainly as with regard to foodways. And it's the things and how they operate the business that also attract that sense of meaning and place. Next slide. So Moore's I was really delighted to see that Moore's is celebrating their 100th anniversary, 1926. And they have several things on this table. There's pictures and memories of their customers, as well as customer memories of the store. There's a birthday card that's on the store. I'll show you in the next slide. That people can write little birthday messages to the store, congratulating them on their business. I've signed their card. If you go to the next slide, you'll see that they actually have a memory book or a photo album through the years of people enjoying the store, eating their food, and having events that are friends, family, weddings, traditions, birthdays, whatever, that they're coming there. They have what I believe to be the owner's picture on the store. But there's also, again, there's the birthday card, and so there's lots of memory and documents, ephemera, that show that like a history book of the family that shows those important connections that they've made through their just ordinary customers over the years, and how it's grown to go from a place that your grandparents went to that's been recognized by your parents, and your parents take you to these places maybe when you're young too. And so it becomes really a traditional heritage business where one family member is introducing it to the next, as well as their friends and anyone else who they love or cherish, that they take to these places to make them aware of them. Next slide. This is fantastic. And you're gonna see why. This really, one of the things that they did is that they put out a notebook asking people, what was it, or tell me about, I don't know, what the prompt question was. I don't have it. But it was basically share your memories of Moore's Country Store over the past 100 years. You know, what do you remember about this place? And they have some pictures of people that are there, and just, again, memories of this place, of people being there, sense of place. So what did some of the people write? And they had a whole notebook full of stuff, of comments in here. And I took some pictures of some of the notes, and on the next slide, go ahead, you'll see what they said in some of their comments. And I want to read these because I think they're meaningful.
Can we move a little faster because we're
I-
out of time? We've got a lot to
We're-
go.
Well, this is, I understand, and I will, and this is almost done. But I want to read through these. So memory comments that were put in that book. My memory of this place is when my dad brought me here, and my dad was laughing and smiling. He would always stop here for his hot dogs on the way home from work. Well, my dad is gone, and I still come here with my friend. It's connection. We always stop here. We always stop by the tree store, as we used to call it as little kids. So happy to be part of Moore's beautiful journey and giving the best service and food. Moore's has been a family tradition, to say the least. That tradition may be just a random Sunday drive or even a special trip out of the house just to get some hot dogs. My mom used to take me and my siblings here 24/7. We stopped and ate here before we bought our house we live in now. And I think that comment is, this is a safe place. That we're going here to help us make a major decision, because this is a place that feels comfortable and is part of the community that we want to be part of. Then the last one is, every time I visit my parents, we come to Moore's. My son's been wearing Moore's t-shirts since he was 6 months old. He's here with me today at 8 years old and still loves how spicy the chili is. I mean, I think, and these are just a few of the numerous comments that represent place, they represent tradition, they represent meaning to people, meaning that this store has to people. And so it really sort of speaks to a lot of things that I've been trying to say and relate in the staff report in this presentation. And then the last slide is, I'll just prompt it with a question, is based on the store's connection and meaning to the community, could it be a potential legacy business? And with that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer questions and further engage in the staff report.
Well, beautiful presentation.
Thank you.
Very, very well done. I feel like we've already lived this right here in Trumbull County. You weren't here, say, what was it, 20 years ago? When we band together to determine that there would not be a super Walmart in our town in order to save our small businesses. And biggest voting that ever took place in this town.
Yes, I remember that.
Lines were
Around the building.
around the building. The 5 men in their business suits and their briefcases took finally by 5 o'clock, they realized they lost their battle. They were out of here. And that was in order to save our town. So the legacy program speaks of what we've already done. And again, I think it's a great presentation, but I think we've all worked hard to protect the businesses of our town. And if it needs to be put under some formal documentation, then I don't have a problem with it, but I feel like we're already been there and doing that for the past 100 years.
There are aspects of it that maybe we could do, because I'm thinking of PS Bowlings and the struggle that they were having. The mall was built.
Mall was built.
That was out of their control.
Yeah.
And it was out of this jurisdiction, but they did approach the town asking for breaks on things like some of the taxes, some of the water fees, and some of the things that were just, they were struggling to deal with, and the town would not give them those breaks. And so after 75 years plus, they lost that business. I don't know that this program is willing to go there as far as giving businesses those kinds of breaks, but and I don't know that it would have preserved PS Bowlings for much longer, but it might have. So maybe there is some value in looking at that. I struggle partly with the fact that a lot of our traditional cultural type things, a lot of them are gone. I mean, they're already gone. It's kind of hard to preserve them because they're not here anymore. And I don't know how impactful the places that are there now have been. I mean, I think of the Crossing, the Casey Jones.
What it was and
And
what
then
it is today.
The
It's
bar before
Yeah.
that, the Stag Bar before that. There's always been a bar there, but they haven't been under the same ownership. But people have always been in that place. Quite different places, each one. And so I don't know how that, whether that qualifies.
But is the business, it can transcend ownership as long as that the place is still meaningful and operating fundamentally for the same purpose.
Well, yeah, then that would probably fit that.
But ownership is everything,
Well, I mean, think of the character of it has changed so much. When my grandfather built that place, it was just he wanted to be a bartender. He wanted to run a bar.
Mhm.
And when they shut down the old hotel, they shut down the bar, so we built a new one. It was not the place you would bring your kids. It's just that simple.
except to the barber.
Well, we spent some Christmases in there. But when it changed hands and went to different ownership, they renovated it and it did become quite a popular place for people in
Casey's.
town, Casey Jones. And then that became the Crossing, and then now it's the Charles.
Yeah, it's-
It's never been quite the
Like it's
same,
gathered
but it's still there.
places.
And there probably are some legacy businesses that don't need to be there anymore. And the one that pops into my mind is that barber shop that used to be at the end where there's now the
Earls.
Carl, where the market is. Yeah. So
Yeah.
let me ask a question a little more broadly and see if, because I understand the theme of this
Mhm.
and it's the intent for preservation, but let me ask it this way. What is it that's broken that we're trying to fix?
I like that question.
And here's how I'd answer that question is I think that there are businesses out there that could potentially benefit from this. If they want to expand or have limitations on, maybe there's limitations on their parking, they cannot expand because they don't have enough parking. They would need to get a variance, or that there's some other need that they might have that could be addressed through a legacy business program. You're also being proactive for businesses that whatever the date is that we pick, that when they get to that point, that might be beneficial to them. So you're being proactive and creating programs that are going to help businesses in the future potentially, or those that become established or they may change ownership and it may not, a location may not be construed as a legacy business now, but maybe in the future.
Maybe. So has there been any bottom-up request for something like this?
This
Has the
is,
business community come forward in any way to say, geez, as in general, we need help?
this is a program that's been, that staff has initiated based on successful programs in other communities that
So the
seem
answer's no.
meaningful.
The answer's
So
no.
from the business community directly, no. But these are things that the planning department looks at
Sure.
to understand how can we help improve our economic viability. And in this case, wrapping that into broader preservation themes that are not in a lot of zoning codes because they just don't have the staffing that thinks about these or have the experience and background in it to advance these kinds of programs. Yes, ma'am, you're looking at them. I meet the Secretary of Interior's professional qualifications. I understand, and the program, obviously, however it's structured, like most anything that we do, is it has to be formed in a way that the town has the ability to support it long term. And we have to consider staffing and budgets and all those things, but there's things that we can sidestep it. Sorry. So this is to introduce the Legacy Business Program as part of work plan item number 4, I believe, on your program that the council has approved,
It's item number
and to begin working on this program to provide some recommendations to the Planning Commission for them to review it, to advance it to the council. If the council ultimately decides that they don't see a need for it, or they don't want it, then that's fine. But I think that there's definite value to it, and it's worth the effort of going through this to demonstrate that La Plata is becoming a much more sophisticated community in terms of its historic preservation practices, ordinances, and ability to become a leader in this field.
Well, I'm not opposed to this. I think it will have its place in time, but I think we have enough other things we need as a small commission to be getting completed that we've been working on for quite some time before going off into another program when we still have other things on the plate that we need to
So.
take care of.
What is
so
staff
be-
not doing?
Before you try to go there, let me just ask this. You made mention to a subcommittee of some sort that's going to form up to do this, and I got a sense that it was supported by multiple commissions, which make reference to the Planning Commission as well as HPC. And I was wondering, are there others? Is the intent to build a committee with drawing on the existing committees to do this, or what's your vision for how this is going to execute?
What I'm looking for that is for the HPC is going to fundamentally develop the program for advancement to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission has the authority to change the zoning code. The HPC does not.
Correct.
So we have to advance that in a format that is,
You're looking for the HPC to put this together.
the HPC with staff would be putting together a program and the recommended changes to the zoning code to support that program. I'm looking for the subcommittee, whoever you want to be, to help staff to work on this program that I can, like any of the other subcommittee efforts that we've had, to be able to call, to be able to meet with, without having to have a formal meeting of all the members. And I think that working in a smaller group is going to be faster and more beneficial.
Okay. And then, did I cut you off? Was there something else that I just had one other? I'm going to
No,
take this a little
go.
different. So the question that whenever I ask it of staff or council people that they hate the most, I'm going to ask, does Leonardtown do anything like this? Because everybody looks at Leonardtown and says, boy, we wish we had a downtown look like that. Is Leonardtown doing anything like this?
I think we're the only one doing a active
no.
legacy business program.
All right, cool. The other thing is, you make mention in here of some grant money, $1,800 that's in fiscal year 27, which I think we've begun. What's the plan to try to even do something that will spend that money eventually this year?
Well,
Or do we have any idea?
Okay. So this is why, so I have to put the money in the budget for 27 earlier this year. So the council, I've shared the vision with the council. The council has approved the HPC's work plan. So there's, what I'm telling you is there's seed money there for up to 5 businesses to potentially have grants of $1,800. We still have to form the program to catch up for the grant. So what I'm looking at trying to do is to have a program that I can get to council by the end of the year, ideally, so that we have some time, if it's approved, we have the time to go out and offer this program with the potential $1,800 grants for successful legacy business applicants.
Stupid study. I apologize. I should know the answer to this. I don't. Didn't fiscal 27 started in July?
July
Our
1st.
fiscal year.
July 1st it started.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. So, all right. So it'll be a challenge probably to get something done on and agreed to that we spend that money on time. I hope we do. All right.
We're going to try.
Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. So one other thing that you mentioned in there that I don't, that you mentioned the tourism angle, which I think is a good one. Does the town of La Plata have anybody that focuses on tourism?
To my knowledge, not directly, no.
Okay. All right. Okay. Any other thoughts? I guess we need to talk about providing someone or see if we have somebody who wants to stand up and do this subcommittee work.
Be nice if we
Well,
had Jane here at that
Yeah.
point, I think.
Yeah, I'm working on the Centennial
Yeah,
Plaque
right.
program, so I'm
Yeah.
not going to step forward.
And we are short-staffed as well at this point. I mean, we don't have a full complement of members here.
Yeah.
Can this be put onto a future agenda once we have?
Yeah.
Here's what I would suggest is that we start with somebody for between now and the next HPC meeting. And then if they want to change or shift, that's fine.
You put me on it.
Okay, like if
Unless
you want to vote for your,
for the next month, I'll do it. If that works and to help you get started.
that would be great. So if I get a vote on appointing Chair Gilpin, I need a motion and a second.
I will make a motion that we appoint Mr. Gilpin here as our subcommittee for the time being,
Till the next meeting.
at least to the next meeting. And I assume that we have the ability at some later point to add or subtract as we see fit to that group.
This is why I was suggesting to do it for at least the first meeting, and then as the commission member that's absent, Ms. Hobbs is absent, and we get a new appointment, they can certainly be substituted in or added, however the commission like to do that.
Sounds good. Okay. Did we get a second on that?
I'll second it.
Anyone in favor?
Aye.
Anybody?
Oh, I said aye.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Couldn't hear you. Sorry. Okay. Nays? All right. Okay. Okay, moving on to, I think we're ready to go to subcommittee updates. No, I guess we don't have anything new to add to the 250 program.
I think we already kind of had.
Not coming today. Comments on the plaque program. So Meredith, anything you want to talk to there?
Well, it was presented, as you know, in the town notes front page. Thought that was pretty good.
Yeah.
We haven't had any responses yet from the public, but I have packets put together and have spoken with 4 or 5 people within the community that are willing to take the packet from me and consider putting in an application. A couple of things that I found out that was quite surprising. I was going to start with the first building here in La Plata, which was, I thought Pellegrino still owned it. That's now owned by somebody from out of county, as well as the Baldus buildings, which we would have gone to them, not the Baldus building, but the yellow buildings here across the street by the Pepsi plant, Coke plant. And we thought they were still locally owned by Baldus, but they are not. What used to be the Husick Building over there on Maple Street is no longer locally owned. So these buildings are moving on to other people that, are out of county, so.
Out of
they're just
county?
leased- Yeah, out of county. So, Annapolis, I think one was Baltimore, so I was surprised when I looked into all that.
That is-
Because those were buildings that I would have been going and approaching about this program, but they're. So I'm gonna stick more with just our local people such as what I'm looking at is Larry Abel across the street here. He's an architect and has a nice brick area where he could use a plaque. And then of course, a couple of houses on Oak Avenue and Martin Service Station, because they've been in business for over 100 years, and the site of the Dr. Mudd House. So those are the ones I'm working
So-
on right now.
I can tell you that you woke me up.
Oh, thank you.
That comment about all those buildings being purchased from out of town. If there's something that your cultural legacy business thing needs to look at is if everything's being bought up from out of town, you're gonna be behind the curve all the way. It'd probably be worth looking at, understanding who's buying these properties up and what their thoughts are for the future. Because they may well be planning for the next super Walmart or God knows what else.
Well, and that's why we have our work plan, is because the staff's intent is to help facilitate a more,
That's
a
an
more,
angle that-
a more-
Yeah.
a more robust ordinance that's going to have lots of,
Need to look at, not just ordinance.
I think we need the historic district.
understand, but we need to have,
See, that's
in staff's
perfect.
opinion, we need to have a more robust preservation program. And those things will help balance some of the pressures and things that the community would like to see happen that haven't.
If they decide, if any of those people decide to raise those buildings,
I think, yeah.
and we lose the oldest building we have in town.
Yeah.
And we have really nothing to do to stop it.
The demolition does require HPC approval. I will say that in our ordinance, but there's
Stop
but-
them from giving the approval.
there's more that could be, there's a lot more that could be done in our ordinance to help promote preservation, adaptive reuse of these types of resources that are out there.
So anyway, that's my report.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Very good. All right, let's see. Matters of information. Are there any other reports relative to our longstanding efforts that anybody would like to report on?
Let's see, Don is actively working on getting the schoolhouse marker up. Honestly, I think it's
Yes.
been here in the town for a whole year now,
Yes.
and it's still not up, but he's working on it.
Well, he said it's all ready to go. I spoke to
Yeah,
him.
and
not too long.
Willing Helpers Hall, it's that, their society, that's,
Yeah,
I
so
think about to be.
that's an
closed out.
entertaining story as well, and they should have a decision on where they want to put the silly thing on Sunday.
Okay,
So I've been
Thank
talking
you.
to them as well, so I'll fill you in later on the details.
Chair, just for the record,
Yes.
I can't help but make this comment. Ms. Cheney, you're referring to Don or Donna Gardner,
Yes,
Don
Public
Gardner.
Works, not me, Don Dooley.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, good for
Don
the,
Gardner.
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
But if you are inclined to go out and put that sign up,
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that I do. That particular one's not one of them.
All right, I think there's an area I want to talk to here that normally we would look at as saying that these are more operational concerns, but I'm going to talk to them more strategically as well. So the train station, museum, it needs attention. And I'm concerned about the collection of things that are going undone that need attention and the place is getting bad. So first of
Really
all, I
is.
will tell you that attendance at the last two openings has been near zero. So nobody's publicizing that we're open, nothing's happening, and we've asked multiple times. And to get something advertised that the thing is open seems to be very difficult. We asked for a sign to be put up with the scheduled events over a year ago. It hasn't happened. The building condition is dramatically deteriorated. And we've reported this and asked for help multiple times without response. The decking is falling apart. There's nails sticking out of it. There's a backed up drainage gutter that's pouring water onto the deck in the back, and it's all getting moldy and coming apart. No work's been done. There's been dry rot reported on the sides of the building that had not been addressed. The caboose door was kicked in by a break-in last month, and finally somebody put a piece of plywood over it to at least cover the hole. And that's the only thing I've seen done in there. There's an alarm system in the building. Nobody knows how it works, but every time I come in there, it beeps. And I would love to know how to set it or unset it and use it. And I believe that given the continuous break-ins at the caboose, it would probably be good to extend the alarm to the caboose, and we need camera coverage. The police, when they looked into the break-in at the caboose, first question they asked me is, do you have camera coverage? And the answer is no, because it hasn't been a priority. So I suggest that it might become one before there's serious damage done. And then finally, yesterday, we had the privilege of a second visit from the Springdale group to come and explore the museum, and we opened it for them. As you may recall, they were there about a month ago, and they wanted to come back with another group of people, and they came back with about 20 folks.
Mhm.
A wonderful opportunity for us, and I will tell you that we are falling flat. They came, we got them as through it as best we could, and then they had to cut the visit off early. And the primary reason given to me was that, first of all, it's no longer ADA compliant because of the parking situation, which has been going on for over a year and not yet addressed. So all of this is suggesting that from a broad strategic view, we need to pay attention to the place before it falls into the ground. And so that's why I'm bringing it up this way. And I know that you don't generally like to discuss operational specifics on a given day, but this is turning into something that's broader and needs to be dealt with. So I'm going to ask that be addressed, and that we get some kind of reporting out at the next meeting from staff and whoever's involved as to what are we going to do about all this, because it's getting out of hand. You're probably going to hear from Springdale because they couldn't get wheelchairs in. They couldn't get to the ramp that exists because of the parking thing. It's a mess, and I'm hoping something will happen here to address it. So that's what's going on with the train station.
I'd like to add to that I don't see any purpose of us taking our time as docents, having the train station open until this parking issue is resolved, because I think that's why we're not getting visitors the past 2 times,
Could be.
because there's no place for them to park. And I think that's one of the issues. Plus, I agree with you, all these things that we've been asking for over a year, then they just keep accumulating and nothing's happening. I mean, that is really our only main tourism location in the town at this point, and we're so far down the list to ever get anything done. So I don't even see the purpose of us continuing to open it at this time.
We also have Tony Pizzillo trying to pull off the gala that for the opening of this documentary that we're getting, which is making good progress for Maryland Public TV.
Yep.
And probably WTA as well, we hope, but probably later. And he wants to have the train station included in this event, and he's planning a fairly large event. It'd be a great opportunity to showcase the museum and what the town can do. But he's got concerns about people tripping over nails and not being able to get into the building, and it just not being suitable for what he wants to
No, we have scheduled-
everywhere in the park.
we have scheduled the opening for that day that they're doing the event. It's public opening. Anybody can come. It's open to the public, not just for their event.
What was the date?
And and I told them, we would, as far as the parking goes, we're trying to be responsive to what he's asking because they're reasonable questions. And in the past, what I've done relative to the parking is I go over to the emergency care place and I just tell them, hey, we're open for 4 hours today. Could you please not tow anybody? Hey, we're open today for the Springdale visitors. Could you please not tow their bus away? So they do. They've done it, but that's all informal and certainly not official action from the town. It's just, I ask as a favor and they do it. So I hope we can support that event. I think it's worth doing, and
Have you
to
seen,
Stuart's point, it will be well attended and it'll be good.
the temporary parking meter situation there by the theater?
Oh, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
that's a
I
whole
saw
other
that.
ballgame. It's just a mess.
Yeah, so
I kind of
I
poked
feel
up,
like the town has these issues they've got to resolve.
Yeah.
You know,
I kind of perked up when Don was doing his his presentation on the legacy business program, because one of the things he mentioned was businesses maybe needing expanded parking
Hmm.
as something that the town could help out with. And
So, anyway. So do you have
I'd like to
anything
see the
to, so when you get to
opportunity
your
so that they
staff
can do
report,
it.
maybe you can let us know what's going on so far anyway.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand your comment. When I get the staff
You're
report.
gonna do staff report. Right? You're next.
Yes, for this, I'm going to, let me approach this way. As you know, council member or council liaison McCormick is not here
He
today.
didn't join, did it? I should have asked. Did he join ultimately?
If-
Okay.
Okay.
He did provide an email, that I want to read into the record, that he once conveyed as part of the meeting. So I'm going to use, this time to read his comments, that we received on July 17th. From Council Liaison McCormick. He says, quote, "First, I wanted to remind you all that the council will be meeting in September for our forward-looking 2028 priorities. One of the items I have requested for discussion is the HPC's role in designated historic or landmark properties. If there is anything else you would like discussed, especially programs that require funding, please bring them up at an appropriate time during the meeting under commission comments, new business right now. And second, I'm tracking the break-in at the train station. I will bring this up in my councilman comments at the next council meeting. Mr. Gilpin, I believe you had direct, I don't understand. Communication, I think is what he's saying. Communication with La Plata Police Force.
Thank you.
If you could share any notes that you think would be appropriate for council to be made aware of, that would be certainly helpful. And unquote, and that concludes his comments.
Yeah, I did pass him an email about that topic, so I did answer his question about what did they ask me and what that was about. And really, there was not much to say because what they asked me is, do you have cameras? The answer is no. Okay, thank you. They don't have anything. They don't know who did it or what's going on. So if they can address that. Okay, but since I'll take that as the council report.
That's the council report,
And
yes.
I think in response, certainly want to congratulate him on his new baby they had yesterday. So that's certainly nice. And that's
They
an
have a
excuse
boy?
for not being here, and that's legitimate.
They have a boy or a girl?
I don't know. It's boy or girl.
It's a baby.
It's a baby.
It's a baby.
It's
Yes, it's one of those.
It's a baby.
Important.
It's a newborn, healthy baby, and as I understand, the mom and baby are doing well, and that's all that matters.
Okay, that's-
Good.
Okay. All right. Does anybody else have any general comments from us that we want to put forward?
And Chair, I have no staff comments to add.
Okay, so you
Yes.
have no update on parking?
I have no additional
Are they
comments to
doing
make.
something? All
I
I hear is lawyers are looking at it.
have nothing further to add.
Okay. Do you have an update on where we are in filling our vacancies?
I believe that the council will be looking at developing a process as part of the larger organization-ish effort for all the boards and commissions, and that after that is adopted by the commission, or excuse me, by the council, that the recruitment process will continue based on that,
So-
on the new
so that's-
guidelines that are given.
Okay, so just for the record, the vacancy we're trying to fill has been empty for over a year. We did have somebody, they chose it
I don't
to
think
not
the
attend.
vacancy's
after
been
the
over a
first-
year. It's been a few months, but
Patty,
it's,
when did she resign?
Um,
When did Patty resign?
Patty resigned, it's been a year ago, yeah.
It's more than a year.
Well,
And-
you had the one person that chose to resign, as you mentioned, so.
Yeah, before her
We
first
went through
meeting.
all that process,
Yeah.
Yeah, we had, and so anyway, if, I guess this is going to be vacant for quite some time, if we're waiting on the town to decide what its policies are going to be relative to organizations, and we can't even, bring somebody on, I guess it's going to be vacant for quite a while.
explain what's happening. So once when we get council direction on and consent on developing those processes and procedures for boards and commissions, then we will follow those procedures and recruitment
Has there
will
been-
continue.
Has there been a stoppage of filling vacancies across all the commissions?
I don't understand the question.
Yeah, you do. Have they been filling
Other
openings in
positions.
other commissions?
I don't know. I don't, some of those other commissions,
Okay.
I have not had to fill that I'm responsible for. The other ones I can't speak to.
Okay. All right. And you have no staff report today. Okay. Any public comment? Public? Okay. All right, we're a little behind. Do I hear a motion?
I motion we adjourn.
I'll second it.
Favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Around. I have just enough time to see if mom's okay, and then I get to